Hello YouTube, welcome back to the Bluebell Model Railway channel, here with me, Matt, of course. So today I have for me a new product which I've recently purchased at a very much hugely discounted rate. I purchased this from Rails of Sheffield, and of course this is the Hornby Lord Nelson class. Now some of you may have had the Bachmann one in the past. I certainly did, which I modified somewhat to make it better. Moved that on some time ago, in fact so long ago I forgot I've actually sold it, but here we go. So as I mentioned, this was purchased from Rails of Sheffield, and I purchased this for 129, and this was originally, when it came out, 220 odd pounds, somewhere around that mark. I wanted to wait just because of some reports on this being a little bit fragile in terms of the motor and the running, but as also from what I've learnt from other reviews, its weight. It is incredibly light for what it is, and because this was announced sometime, I think it was about 2018 as mentioned, it hasn't got all the bells and whistles and die cast that the more recent models have, and not even including the firebox flicker which we now have. This model has an 8-pin DCC chip, which I believe is located in the tender. It has a dual flywheel arrangement as well as a 5-pole motor located in the locomotive end. So it's mostly an all plastic construction, metal chassis, and we're going to take a little bit of a closer look at this model and also the class as we look through it. The new Lord Nelson design had to fit within the profile of the King Arthur class, and having previously used a Drummond 4-cylinder locomotive as a test bed, Monsell altered the positions of the cranks on the Lord Nelson design to give 8 exhaust pulses per revolution rather than the 4. The resulting increase in power over the 2-cylinder design of the King Arthur class was significant. A longer Belpaire boiler with a completely different designed firebox was used. The cab design was similar to the L1440s, and the bogie was a new design, being independently coil sprung. Monsell decided to produce one example as a prototype, ordered from EC Works on May 29, 1925, which replaced the last engine on an existing King Arthur build order. The locomotive, number E850, was completed on August the 11th, 1926, and after trials at Eastleigh, it was sent to 9 Elms for trial running on the western section main lines to Bournemouth, Portsmouth and Exeter, before moving across to Battersea for trials on the Dover boat trains. Upon completion of the locomotive's initial test runs, enough confidence in the locomotive's design for a further 15 engines to be ordered, then 10 on March 13th, 1927, and a further 5 on March 23rd, 1928. These locomotives were completed at Eastleigh between June 1928 and November 1929. Both Monsell and his successor Oliver Bulleid brought a number of modifications to the class, the most noticeable being the introduction of smoke deflectors, but chimneys, bogie frames and cylinders were all modified, giving a subtle range of external differences over the pre-war appearance of the class. Most of their service lives, the class ran with a flat-sided 5,000 gallon bogie tender, but modified by Urey style 5,000 gallon bogie tenders from the S15 were also used, along with 4,000 gallon 6-wheeled tenders. The first withdrawal came in May 1961, the last in October 1962, and one locomotive, number 30850, Lord Nelson, was saved for preservation in the National Collection. This particular model and this example, Sir Martin Frobisher E864, entered traffic at Stewart's Lane in November 1929 on Continental services. This was then moved to Nine Elms in 1937 on Link 1 duties for Southampton Docks and Bournemouth Express services, swapping places with number 857 Lord Howe. In January 1939, Sir Martin Frobisher was modified with a Lemaitre exhaust and a modified chimney, raising the performance level of the locomotive. A welcome development, as by 1945, somewhat surprisingly, wartime holiday traffic on the western section had reached pre-war levels, and the introduction of the Merchant Navy class meant that Sir Martin Frobisher could be sent to Bournemouth Shed to augment the Lord Nelsons already based there. So this model comes in the typical Hornby packaging from the 2018-19 era. Of course now they've improved that and gone on to foam packaging in a nice big sturdy box. So typically this model came in an ice cube block packaging type and a pull-out drawer from a normal sleeve, which was also inside a brown box. Nothing too showy or fantastic about that, that's just how it came. The model itself also comes with an extensive detailing pack, which you can see just in front of the model here. We have various bits of brake rigging, drain cocks, NEM pockets, as well as the standard tension lock, steam heat pipes, steps, and also the drain cocks for the cylinders. So this model is always going to be a very highly detailed model with all the latest tooling types and detail types, so all mostly separately fitted items. We have all of the lamp iron brackets on the buffer beam, on the smoke box, and the top of the smoke box door. We have separately fitted smoke deflectors, all nicely printed, a nicely printed number on the buffer beam, number 864, sprung buffers if that's your thing, and an NEM pocket on the bogie. The door doesn't open, but we have a nice chimney on top which depicts the larger blast pipe arrangement. Moving down the side of the model, we can see all the lovely connecting rods, which is as per prototype. The wheels, of course, are very plasticky and have a plastic look about them. No edging around the tyre of the wheel, which is a bit disappointing. But we do have some nicely decoration along the running plates, along the boiler and boiler bands. We have the clack valves and pipe down the side, nicely decorated splashers, separately fitted handrails, and also a nice nameplate with the name on the locomotive. We have the washout plugs along the boiler, and some nicely turned brass fittings and safety valves on top, as well as some nice pipework in front of the cab with the whistle on top as well. So looking at the tender now, you can see it nicely lined out with yellow and also the malachite with the black border. We have some steps front and rear. We have the bogies which pick up power as well and require the brake rigging to be added. We have fire iron storage on the side here, as well as a fake coal load, which is pretty much standard these days. Moving back, we have the vacuum cylinders, as well as two water filler openings, steps on the rear, as well as separately fitted lamp irons, vacuum hose, sprung buffers, and of course the standard NEM tension lock pockets and coupling. Looking at the cab, we have a nicely decorated cab with malachites, as well as lined out in yellow and black. The number here is in a gold colour, which I kind of thought might have been in the sunshine yellow, but unfortunately it's not. Moving down, we have the pipework to the injectors and the cab step. Moving into the cab itself, we have a nicely decorated and detailed back head with the reverser, the regulator handle, as well as all the dials and controls on the back of the back head, including the water glasses as well. We've got some cab doors as well as a full plate here as well, which can be lifted up in the up position. And we also got some nice flush glazing with a bit of brass detailing around the outside. It is also joined to the tender with the old drawbar arrangement and that horrible 4-pin plug, which I really do hate. Looking round the other side of the tender, of course this tender being a 5,000 gallon version, and of course it has the 2 bogies, which has the 4 wheels per bogie. We have again nice decoration down the side, separately fitted handrails. As we move down the locomotive, you can see the small variation on this side of the model, where we have a speedo cable here running from the cab to the rear driving wheel. Now we've had a detailed look around the model, we'll now head over to the other workbench where we have the rolling road, and we can just put it through some of its paces. So you join me on the rolling road with the Lord Nelson by Hornby, and we're just going to see how it runs on the rolling road. Unfortunately no layout as mentioned due to the small amount of space I have at the moment. So let's have a go in forwards and then in reverse. I'm using a standard DC gauge master controller. This is just set at around about 35 on the controller. And now for reverse. Overall, despite the lack of weight, it does run well. However, I have noticed some speed discrepancies. Sometimes it raises, sometimes it lowers, which may indicate from other YouTubers and reviewers out there could be a motor issue somewhere in there, just using general motors from various Chinese suppliers and not ones which are built to fit this model. So quality may vary, shall we say. So a very quick model summary. So this model I picked up from Rails of Sheffield for around about £129. They are still available at the moment. The model itself was announced in 2020 as part of the range, but the tooling was originally announced back in 2018. And it certainly feels that way. The model itself is extremely light, although very detailed, but it is lacking all those modern advances in sort of materials and also electronics. This has the old original 4-pin connector between locomotive and tender, and also still has, I believe, the DCC 8-pin decoder socket. The model is primarily plastic, there's no metal to it, it has no firebox flicker or glow, it has flush glazing, some really nice detailed items, but overall the feel and the running of it does certainly feel like it was from the last decade. It would be lovely if they ever go back to this model and actually add a little bit more weight to it, because it is extremely light, so don't expect it to pull any long trains up any hills. General running is okay. I did witness and see a little bit of speed variation, which could be sort of a motor issue which is just about to happen, which is quite common for these models of these age. There's been quite a few in the range back when the motors became a third source component, so not made for the model themselves, just purchased off a shelf. However, it is good, but I certainly would be more comfortable paying $129 than the full RRP price, which is when they came out, which is probably closer to $200. I hope this review helps you if you ever come across one of these and fancy one. They do look nice, they do go reasonably well, but there is a small motor issue hovering over them slightly. But hopefully you've enjoyed this review, and hopefully we'll see you in the next one, which hopefully will be a model from Rapido. Who knows? Bye for now.